In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this mini scrapbook album. I'll be using Graphic45's Farmhouse 8x8 paper collection. If you're a beginner or a seasoned pro, follow along with me as I take you step by step. We'll make this album together. Hi everyone, this is Debbie from Project 39 Mini Albums. Today I will be making this mini album. We'll first do a walkthrough of the mini album and I'll show you the features and the pages. Then we'll talk about supplies, and then we'll start building the pages one by one. After that, we will decorate and mat the pages, and then we'll do a final walkthrough. So if you're ready, let's get started. All right, so we're going to do a walkthrough so you know what the project looks like. There is another walkthrough video on my channel going a little bit more in detail, but what we're concentrating on is the page features, not necessarily the decorating. So page feature for the inside front cover, there's a flap and a flap. I did add later a little pocket onto that page, and then this pocket here. But what we're going to do to begin with is do the two flaps. And then this is the closure on that. I talk about in the video, in the decorating video, how to make sure this stays in place. The front of page 1 has a top flap and a bottom flap. So see, they're very simple pages. We do have hidden pocket pages, and I talk about how to make that in the decorating video. That's at the end of the decorating video. Here is the back of page 1. It just has two flaps and a pocket. The front of page 2 is just one simple flap. In the decorating video, I added this pocket. I didn't do it in the construction video. It wasn't until the end that I said, oh yeah, I think I need that. And then there's the hidden photo mat. The back of page 2 looks complicated, but it's really easy. This will open like that, and that opens like that. And that stays in place. And then this will open like that. There's just a tuck spot, but that's all about decorating. So that is the back of page 2. Front of page 3 is just a side loading pocket. Easy schmeezy. The back of page 3 has a smaller flap, so you can add smaller photos there if you want, and there. Front of page 4 is just a simple pocket. The decorating's, it's not complicated. It just has a couple more steps to it to get the cows to line up, but I think that makes the page really fun. There is that. And then the back of page 4 really doesn't have any elements on it. It's all about the decorating. The inside back cover has a pocket with a flap, and it's a very simple process to make, and nothing exciting on the back cover, and that is the spine. In the decorating, we also talk about the ribbons and a couple of ways to remember not to forget to put the ribbons on. So if you're ready, we'll get started making the construction of the book. I do have the decorating in a second video because the construction was a little more than an hour, so I wanted to be able to spend a lot of time on the video and break it up. So anyhow, let's get started. So as far as the paper materials, you will need the 8x8 collection from Graphic45 called Farmhouse, and I also used the chipboard elements. I think these are still available. If they are, I'll try to link them below. I used a lot of these for closures on the pages and as swivel tabs instead of using magnets on all of the pages. I also used different cardstock. I used black 65-pound weight cardstock for most of the pages. The cardstock that I used is from Michaels, the Recollection brand. It's the 8.5 by 11, although I will warn you, it is not exactly 8.5. It's more like 8 5/8 by 11 1/8. So it's a little bigger. So just know that. I use both the 65-pound weight and the 110-pound weight. I use the 65-pound for wrapping the covers, making the base pages, and anywhere there was pockets. The 110-pound weight I use anywhere there was a flap. So I'll try to remember to tell you which weight I'm using as I go through. Now I will also tell you I did put the measurements in the description. A lot of times I will put it in my coffee shop. I don't have it in my coffee shop right now. I actually followed my own tutorial using the exact same collection, the exact same measurements. Well, not the exact same, I changed a couple. But that is on my channel from several years ago. So if you're curious, you can look that up. Other paper goods, I used medium weight chipboard. You can use medium weight or heavyweight chipboard. For adhesives, I put my liquid adhesive in here. I use the Designer Dries Clear Glue from the Art Glitter Company. I get the larger one and then just put it in the smaller one. It's just easier for me to squeeze. I also use, I have to grab it out, 1/4 inch double-sided permanent adhesive. This one is score tape. I will use either the score tape brand or the scrapbook.com brand. I listed that in the description box if you want to look that up. Let me show you some other basic tools that I used as well. A few other tools and supplies I use is I use this small paper trimmer, especially if it's smaller than 8.5. This works well. If it's any bigger than 8.5 by 5.5, I'll use a larger trimmer that is off camera, but it's another Fiskars rotary trimmer. It's not available anymore. That's why it's not linked. I'll also use my scoreboard. The brand I use is this Martha Stewart one. This is really good, but I don't know if they're that easy to come by. But whatever scoreboard you have works. I also forgot to tell you, I use a 6-inch roll of double-sided permanent adhesive to put on my chipboard. It just makes it go faster. This roll will last years. Anyhow, there is that will be linked in the description. All right, and then finally, other miscellaneous tools. I just pulled out my drawer insert. This I made every year. I remake it. This is sits on the top of my drawer. It's my most often used tools. There we go. My Fiskars large blade scissors, my detail scissors. I'll use these from time to time if I'm cutting a piece of chipboard or a little piece of metal or something. That's a glue remover. Pencil, pen. I don't use that often. A straight edge. For scoring, I use this Cricut scoring tool. It just works for me better than a stylus or anything. It's just got a nice metal point. So this is what I use on my scoreboard. For a bone folder, I use this Dress Your Craft #2 nonstick bone folder. I like this beveled edge. It's flat. It's got a nice beveled point that's rounded. And if for some reason, if you get like a nick in it, if you keep scoring over something and it abrades it, you can just take emery board or a piece of sandpaper and just sand this. And I sand it with a really fine sandpaper and then just use some paper and run it on some paper and it's straight as anything. Pokey tool, ruler, eraser. It's just easy for me to grab this to show you and I just keep that in my drawer. And that is it. All right. Now I will tell you there is a cutting guide listed. This has some changes yet, but it's in the description box. If you want to, you can just sort of copy it and paste it into some kind of document and print it out. What I like to do is cut the pieces like here and adhere it to my chipboard or whatever. Let me grab my paper and I'll show you what I mean. So I just cut it out and adhere it to my paper and keep that in a pile and go from there. All right, now let's get started making a mini album. All right, to start, you'll need 2 pieces of medium or heavyweight chipboard, 5.5 by 7.5, and 1 piece that's 2 by 5.5. Now, I've already put double-sided permanent adhesive on the backs of these, as I mentioned, and it just makes it easier to adhere to the cardstock. I'll just loosen these. I'll use a pokey tool to loosen those. I'll just get the corners up for right this second. And as you can see, the whole thing is not completely covered, but that's okay. If you have a big gap, you might want to use liquid adhesive, but these aren't that big. So to cover the chipboard, let me grab these cardstocks. So you'll need 2 pieces that are 7.5 by 9.5, 1 piece that is 5 by 7.5, and 1 piece that's 5 by 5.5. All right, let's start with just 1 piece of 7.5 by 9.5 and 1 piece of the chipboard. So what this is this is cut 2 inches bigger than this, an inch on all 4 sides. So again, I'll peel off the backing. And sometimes I will use a 1-inch spacer to put it on straight, but I'm not doing that this time. I'm just trying to make sure it gets on as straight as possible. And I'll put that on and burnish it real well. And then I like to take bone folder, this part with the bevel, and just bevel it on the underside right where the edge of the chipboard is. It just helps crease it, and now when we go to fold it over, it's already sort of got a head start. All right, I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut. Now there are mitering tools you can use, they're bookbinding tools, but I'm just using my scissors. I'm keeping it 1/8 of an inch away from the very corner of the chipboard and just going straight across. Now you can go more, just don't try not to go any less than 1/8 of an inch. Okay, there's that. Easy schmeezy. Now I'm going to grab my liquid adhesive. I know, and if you want, you can use your double-sided permanent adhesive. A lot of people like to go around the perimeter and the perimeter of the chipboard. I just use my liquid adhesive. It really does the job. What I like to do is take this and go right next to the chipboard. I feel like I'm just going to do the 2 long sides. I feel like it moistens the fiber and helps things bend easier, and of course helps them adhere. Then I'm going to go around the perimeter of this and zigzag here. I'm just going to do one at a time at this point. Take my bone folder again. I'm taking this, beveled edge, and I'm pushing this right up against the chipboard. And as you can see, it makes a right angle. It just sticks right there. Some of that glue oozes out, but you know it's going to stick. And then with my fingers, I'll fold it over and burnish. And so I'll stay in the middle and burnish. And then at the end, I'll go to the edge and you'll see some glue will come out of the edge. And that's okay. I'm just going to leave it. I mean, if you want, you can wipe it off, but in this case, it'll help adhere everything. So again, I'll go around the perimeter and zigzag. Push this right next to it because I already did it right next to the chipboard. If you get glue on your bone folder, just clean it up. I just use my fingers, or I do have like an eyeglass wipe, which is no lint, and that helps too. So now we'll take this and push in this little edge, just push it next to the chipboard. Now if you forget to do that, it's okay. When you go around the edge, it'll you'll push it in. So again, go around the perimeter, zigzag around the perimeter, zigzag. Burnish that real good. Burnish that real good. And now I'm going to go right here and push that in. I know there's a little bit of adhesive, and that's okay. And then the final thing I like to do is take my bone folder and go around the outside edge just to get that real nice crisp crease in it. And there is one of the covers. I'm going to do the other one just the same, but what I'll do right now is do the spine piece. So for that, we have this 5 by 7.5 piece, and I will peel off the backing. And again, try to center this. So this has 1.5 inches on the long sides and 1 inch on the top and bottom. I'll burnish there, and then burnish here. And then I'll take and go ahead and go around the perimeter. And I'm just going to push that down to get a good crease on that. And then I'll even fold it this way and burnish. Fold it here and burnish. Open it up, and then I'll fold it on the short sides and burnish. And fold it on this short side and burnish. So now you've got rectangles on all 4 corners. I'm going to go ahead and grab my scissors, and I'm going to cut from this line to that line. So I'm going to cut across and go just like that on all 4 corners. This is sort of a different version of the method that I learned from a crafter by the name of Tamara Merrill. She showed this method of the lay flat method of wrapping your books. Oh, I was looking for my glue, and it's here. All right, again, I'll add some glue here and add it on this outside trapezoid. And then a little bit right next to where that is, a little bit on that chipboard, because chipboard seems to absorb adhesive really good. Take my bone folder and push this up, and then I will burnish to get all that glue distributed on top of the chipboard. Then what I'm going to do is take the edge of my bone folder and push down right here at the edge of the chipboard. Yeah, some glue came out. I'll push it in so it's right next to the chipboard, and then burnish it here. And some more glue comes out. So again, I'll do it over here. Push it right next to the edge of the chipboard and burnish this. And it's okay if glue comes out. I'll go ahead and add glue here. Here and here. Burnish. Whoops, there already was glue there. That's all right. Burnish. Push there. And burnish. That's probably where the glue came from. All right, and then I'm going to turn this over, and I'm just going to take this rounded edge and just go right next to the edge of the chipboard. All right, now I said I use 1/4 inch double-sided permanent adhesive. I'm just going to put a little bit on the side piece on both of them. So I'll call this the wing. This is the wing. And it's not the side where you see the chipboard, it's the other side. And I'm going to burnish that real well. And I'm going to peel off the backing. The other thing this bone folder is good for. And then I'm going to, well, before I do that, I'm going to take my scissors and cut from the end of the chipboard, cut down just to get a little piece off. All right, so we're going to bevel that. I'll go ahead and bevel this one. And bevel there. So you see, they're not big pieces, but we'll just bevel that just so we don't see everything. All right. Now I'm going to add glue to this wing piece. I'm going to make a bead of glue about 1/4 of an inch, somewhere between 1/4 of an eighth. You don't want to go too close. And then I'll put some more there. And then I'll take this piece we wrapped so the chipboard's facing down. And I'm going to put this right against that chipboard piece and burnish. So I'll burnish here and burnish here. What we want is the level of chipboard to be even. You don't want this piece to be higher than the other. So burnish it and that'll flatten it all out. All right, let me grab the other piece and we'll put it on. So again, I'll peel off the backing. Add some liquid adhesive on this wing. Go about 1/4 of an inch to 1/8 of an inch next to that where the chipboard is. Of course, you don't see it because it's the other side. And then we'll take this, put it right up against it, and burnish it. And you see, if you feel it, this is raised by 1/16 of an inch, 1/32 of an inch. So we're going to burnish that, turn it over, and burnish it, and burnish this piece real well too. All right, but now just to make sure that this is going to not be too flimsy, I've cut a piece just a smidgen under 5.5, just a smidgen under by 5. And I am going to just glue this on. I'm going to add glue here and on this side of that chipboard spine. This side, we'll do a bead of glue here, bead of glue here, and then finally I'll add glue to the chipboard. It just soaks in real quickly, so I wanted that to be the last thing. And then I'll go around the perimeter of this. Oops. And then find the bottom of our spine, top, and we're good. See some glue, so I'm cleaning it up. And then just burnish. Distribute all that glue. Just get a good stick on it. Alrighty. Now I'm going to let this dry before I try to move this. We'll just let that dry. If in the meantime, if you have any overhang, you can just take a razor blade or X-Acto and just cut it off. But this is good. So I'm going to let this dry. We'll work on the hinge. All right, so the hinge is going to measure 4 7/8 by 8.5. the pages are going to be 5 inches tall. So I wanted this to be a little bit smaller than the 5 inches. All right, we're going to start scoring, and there's going to be 4 pages. The hinge is a system to hold the book into place. This is what it's going to look like when it's done. So there will be 4 of these hinges, and in between each hinge is a gusset. The hinges are going to be 1/2 inch, so 1/2 inch tall, so you'll need 2 1/2 inch pieces, and then 3/8 of an inch in between. Now you can make extras of these and just have them so if you're not sure if, say, 4 hinges with 3/8 in between is going to fit on a 2-inch spine, you can have this to play around with. Of course, I know it's going to. We will start scoring. Use gentle pressure. Make sure that everything is straight to the edge and straight to the top. If it doesn't look it, make sure that your paper is straight. And we'll start scoring at 1 1/2. Then score again at 2, and then 2 1/2. And so those 2 sets are your first set of hinges. Those 2 score lines create your first set of hinges. Now the next one is going to be your gusset, so it's going to be 2 7/8. So that gives you 3/8 inch between the 2 hinges. Let's do another set of hinges. We want to do it at 3 3/8, and then 3 7/8. That's your second set of hinges. Then we'll get to 4 1/4. There's your 3/8 gusset. And then 4 3/4, 5 1/4, 5 5/8 for your gusset, and then for your final set of hinges, 6 1/8 and 6 5/8. So there you go. You've got hinge, hinge, gusset, hinge, hinge, gusset, etc. So we'll move the scoreboard out of the way. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn this over first of all so the bumpy side's facing up. And I want you to fold in between each of those 1/2 inch hinges. So you'll see this first line facing you, skip that and fold at that second line. So fold it. When you fold, make sure your sides are lined up. Take your bone folder and burnish, just that. We're going to burnish on what will be the top of each of the set of hinges. So you're now going to skip a line, and fold. Again, making sure everything is even and lined up. Skip, skip, fold. And one more time, skip, skip, fold. And then we'll have that, so bumpy sides facing down. And you can see very gently some of the folds. Now what I want to do is, since we've already told the paper where we want it to fold, if we pull this towards us, it's going to fold there. So I'm going to do just that. Pull it towards me and then grab that 1/2 inch hinge and just sort of finger burnish it, move it back and forth. Then holding on to that, pull it again towards me, get another set of hinges to come up and just finger burnish. One more time and one more time. If you don't want to finger burnish, if you have tactile issues, then just use your bone folder. All right, so I'm going to take all 4 of these hinges, and they were straight up. I'm going to fold them towards me and burnish. And I'll fold them away from me and burnish. So now there we have our hinges. Of course, we don't even have any glue in it. We've already trained the paper to do what we want it to. Now let's add glue to it. So what I'm going to do is just zigzag on the hinge in this first or last set, really, the hinge close to me, and just zigzag, but stay away from the very edge. Stay 1/4 of an inch away and just zigzag, and then take a bead of glue and go towards what really will be the bottom of the hinge, and just do a little bead of glue there. Now I'm going to turn this over. If you have glued too far, you're going to get it on your surface, so use a piece of paper. But otherwise, just turn it over and squeeze that. And now you've got your first hinge. No. All right, so I'll now open this up a little bit. Zigzag, don't stay too close to the edge. And when I say the edge, I mean the sides. And then go sort of close to the top without going over. If you do, no big deal, just clean it up. And fold this, finger burnish it. And then we'll just continue, do the next one. See, there's only 4 pages in this book. So that's another reason why this is an easy tutorial for somebody who's new to this. We don't have too many pages. 4 is easy. By the 4th one, you'll be like, oh, give me more. But that way you can get it done, get a finished product a little bit faster. I'll zigzag again and then put another bead of glue and burnish. Okay, then I'll take my bone folder, fold these towards me and burnish. Now if you get any glue seeping out, clean it up, but that's why we stay away from the side. So we'll do that a couple of times, just distribute that glue, then I'll fold these over the other way. And there we go. There we go. There is our hinge. Now, generally, I don't get too much glue on the bottom, but if you do, just clean it up. It's no big deal. All right, now let's pull in the book. So now this glue it hasn't cured. It's dried, but it's not cured. It will take overnight to completely harden. So I'll burnish it one more time, and now I'll take this rounded edge of my bone folder and lift this cover up so I can see where the separation is on the other side between the hinge and the front cover. And I will just go back and forth very gently and lift up that cover until I know it's going to fold. I'll do the same with here. Where is it? There it is. Just go back and forth and then fold it over. All right, so now you can see our spine. So what we're going to do is just first eyeball where we want to put our hinge. So obviously it's going to be on the spine, and right now you can easily eyeball to center it about 1/2 inch from the edge of the spine to where this first hinge will be, and 1/2 inch from this last hinge to where the edge of the spine is, just about. And then 1/4 inch, somewhere between 1/4 and 3/8 from the bottom of the page to the bottom of the hinge. So now that I have an idea of where it's going to be, I'll add glue. I'm going to first add glue. If I'm holding this loosely in my hand, I can add glue right in this channel. It just automatically wants to go there. So we'll put them in all 4 channels. And then I'll zigzag between them. Now, the hinge is really important. We want to make sure the hinge stays where it's supposed to. So you want enough glue to hold it down, but you don't want so much that it's going to be seeping out. All right, now I sort of know where this is going to go. So I'm going to just hover it over the top till I remember where it was. Now, I don't like to make a pencil mark to tell me where it's going to go because it's so hard to clean it up, especially if you get glue on it. So I just do my best to get it there. Now, if you need to get a T-square and make sure it's straight on the page, and gee, looking at it and it is not. So since we haven't adhered it, we just placed it, there's some room to adjust. Now it's really important that your hinge is straight. If for some reason your hinge isn't straight, make sure your paper was straight to start with. Okay, so I'm putting it down and I'm right on the money, so we're good with that. All right, now I'm not going to burnish it yet. I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to get to the very center gusset and start at the top and sort of burnish it and start at the bottom and go to the middle, just letting that glue distribute. And I'm going a little bit further over. Then I'll move this one hinge to the right and burnish with my finger. Then I'll move that one, then I move to the right, back to the left, and move the next one to the left and burnish. And then I'll move this one all the way to the left and lift up this wing and see that's good. There's a little bit of glue coming out, which is fine, but it's nice and straight. So I'll again add a little bit of glue here and zigzag it here. I don't want to really cover too much of this indentation where we burnished it, but I will go on the other side and then I'll go up on my hinge and just sort of zigzag a little there. So now I'll fold this down using my bone folder, go right up to the hinge. Whoops, some already coming out. And just burnish and burnish. Don't poke it with this. Just be gentle. If you do for some reason, pull it up, make another one and put it on. But we'll burnish that and burnish that. I see more glue seeping out. Whoops. We're going to turn this over and do the other side. We'll move these over and do the same here. There's one bead there. And go around the perimeter. Zigzag it gently. All right, I'm going to burnish that. And we still need to, again, open the book and burnish here, but I'm going to let it dry before I do that. And we'll go ahead and make the base pages. All right, we're going to make the base pages. So you'll need 4 pieces that are 5 by 7 and 4 pieces that are 6 by 7. We're going to take our scoreboard and work on that 6 by 7 piece with a 6-inch side at the top of the scoreboard. Score it at half an inch and at 5 1/2. That's all you have to do. So do that with all 3. I've already done 3 of them. We're just going to do this one together and then you can go back and do the other ones. I will grab my scissors and we'll miter on these corners. So when I say miter, we're going to cut at an angle. So right here, we're going to cut from that score line just out at an angle. If you need a degree, maybe 45 degrees, maybe. So just cut there and cut there. So all 4 corners will cut off. And then we'll go ahead and fold and burnish on the score lines. Fold and burnish. Now, in this case, I just folded, the bumpy side was facing out. I folded into the fold, but honestly, to me, it doesn't really matter. Some people like to do it one way, some people like to do it the other. I think ultimately it's going to make a microscopic bit of difference. So I just do what's easiest. All right, now what I'm going to do is add liquid adhesive. I'm going to zigzag it on this one little tab. You don't need a heck of a lot, but I do like to get it on the edges. And then I will take this 5 by 7 piece, line it up with the top and bottom and the side, and then burnish. So we distribute that glue and get a good stick. Now we have this, and we have that, and I will add glue here. And fold that over, make sure it's even, which it is, and burnish. So now you have a base page. It's also a tube. So what are we going to do with our tubes? These are going to go in our hinges. So let's pull in our book. And before we put them in, we are going to burnish again between where the spine and the back cover meet and the spine and the front cover. Okay. And then I'll burnish this too. Turn it one way and then the other. Just so we get this trained to move back and forth easy. All right, I started the back of the book, so I'm going to start with the last spine. Now, what you want to do is dry fit it first. So take one side of the tube, the left side, and try to get it. You should have ample room because this was 1/8 of an inch smaller. But what we're going to do is we're going to glue it. When we glue it, you're not going to glue it all the way to the bottom. You're going to glue it so there's a little bit of space, maybe 1/8 of an inch, somewhere between 1/8 of and 1/16 of an inch. You just don't want the bottom of this to be hitting the bottom of the spine because it doesn't it doesn't move as freely if you do that. You want to give it a little room. So I will take some glue and zigzag it. Now I'm going to stay at the top half, 2/3 of this spine. You don't need to go all the way down, or I'm sorry, of the hinge. You don't need to go all the way down to the bottom of it. So we'll open this up, put it on the bottom and then the top. And then I'll pull it up a little. I'll make sure this is even, parallel to the bottom and the top of the book. Make it look parallel, the edge of your base page to the edge of your hinge. And when it looks good, burnish. Now if you see glue, go ahead and clean it up. You have to get comfortable with the amount of glue you're going to need. You don't want too much that it seeps out. You don't want too little that it doesn't stick. And there is our first page. Now, if for some reason, if this didn't fit, what you'll want to do is take a scissors and cut just a little bit miter, just to about the halfway mark of your hinge. I'll put that down so you can see that. But in this case, we're not going to have that problem because we had enough room. All right, zigzag towards the top of the hinge, turn it over, but you don't want to push it down because you don't want it to get glue on the book. Open this up, put one side, the other side, and there we go. So now before I burnish, I want to make sure that this is even with the last page we put in. Make sure it's not too far touching. I still have about 1/8 of an inch, a little bit less, and then I'll burnish. Open it up here and burnish. Now at this point, you still have movement. You still can move it if you feel like it's not on straight, but in this case it is. I'll do this third one, which is really the second base page. I got glue where I didn't need to, so I'll just clean it up and then add my tube. Make sure everything's lined up and burnish and burnish. And the final page. And once we get this in, you'll want to make sure that you've cut well, I guess you want to go through and watch one time. But if you get everything cut, then it's easy just to go zip, zip each page and then you're done. But there we go. And then I'll go ahead and burnish both pages. It helps with the movement again of the book. And there. Now, a couple of things. If you want, you can add cardstock here to cover that up. I don't do it because it adds unnecessary bulk. We're going to cover it when we decorate it. But if you would feel better covering it, then just cut it a little bit smaller than the 5.5 by 7.5. The other thing is I'm going to grab my pencil and start labeling my pages. So, of course, this is the front cover. That's the front cover. I don't know if you can see that. This is the inside front cover. This is the front of page 1, so 1F. The back of page 1, front of page 2, and so on. For front, for back, inside, back cover. It also helps you make sure that you have it straight up and down. Not that it makes a difference at this point. Okay, now that we're done with that, we can move on to adding the elements to the pages. All right, so for the inside front cover, you'll need a piece that's 3.25 by 5.5, and a piece that is 5.5 by 7, actually. It's going to be 7 by 5.5. Anyhow, 3.25 by 5.5 with the 3.25 at the side, at the top of the scoreboard. Score it at 1/2 inch. The 7 by 5.5 with the 7 inside, score at 1/2 inch. These are both heavyweight cardstock. I'm going to take my scissors and miter. And then I will fold and burnish on the score lines. All right, pulling in the book. This 3.5 inch side, we're going to add some glue. And we're going to put this at the top left-hand side. Make sure it's even with the cover, or even, and even with the top and bottom. I'll burnish it real well. And burnish it here. All right, and then this other piece, I'll add glue to our tab. And this will go onto the right side. So be careful you don't put it over where the cover meets this spine. You want it to be a little bit to the left, just so it'll still open. So double check, make sure it'll open, make sure everything's straight, side to side, top and bottom, and then burnish. All right, now we're not doing the closure or decorating, so I'm just going to paper clip this closed for now. That is it for the inside front cover. All right, now we're going to do the front of page 1. So you'll need 2 pieces of cardstock, one that is 7 by 2.5 and one that is 7 by 4.5. We'll put the 2.5 side at the top and we'll score that at 1/2 inch. And for this one, with the 4.5 side at the top, score at 1/2 inch. Those are both the heavyweight cardstock. So for these, we're going to miter at the corners on both of those. And of course, now we will fold and burnish on the score lines. All right, we'll pull in the book. Okay, we're going to put the larger piece at the bottom of the page and the smaller one at the top. So add glue to the tab. And line it up with the bottom. And then make sure the sides are even as well. And burnish. Okay. And then we'll add glue to the top tab of the smaller piece. I'm going to turn this to the side, but this is going to go at the top, lining it up with the top of the page and even with each side. And there we go. Oops, that came out of a paper clip. And I'll add another paper clip here just to keep those two from flapping. And we'll deal with the closure when we go ahead and decorate. All right, we're moving on to the back of page 1. Okay, so for the back of page 1, if you remember, it has 2 flaps that meet in the middle of the page, and there's a pocket inside the flaps. The 2 flaps, I'm using heavyweight cardstock, and I'm using 65-pound on the pocket. Let's put the pocket aside for 1 second, and we'll work on the flaps. So these measure 4 by 5. You're going to put the 4-inch side at the top and score at 1/2 inch. All right, so we'll miter and burnish those. But let me bring in the pocket piece and paper. So this measures 8 inches across by 3 7/8. I must have had that left over from another piece, going up and down. So I'm hesitating here because I want to make sure there's enough room in between the flaps for this pocket. This measures 8. We'll score 1/2 inch, so it'll be 7 inches. But it still might be a little bit too much, a smidgen too much. So I'm going to, and I'd want you to, just take off a little bit, maybe 1/8 of an inch on one side of that. So technically it should be 7 7/8. And then what we're going to do is we're going to score it. We're going to score 1/2 inch with the 7 7/8 side at the top. Score it at 1/2 inch. Rotate it once, score it at 1/2 inch. And rotate it again and score at 1/2 inch. I'm not telling you to score it at 1/2 and it's 7 1/2 because now this is smaller. I'm not going to change the measurements in the instructions because just because I want you to know ways to do things and why you would do different things. Does that make sense? All right, let's move all these. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't tell you how I mitered this. So at the top of the pocket, the bottom's going to be on the bottom of the pocket. We'll miter regular. But here we've got an X that was caused by the score lines. We're just going to cut straight across both of those. That's why I did that. For using, we will fold on our score lines. Fold here and fold on this bottom piece. And then here we need to miter. Miter. Another time. And one more time. Okay, let's fold and burnish on these score lines. All right. So this is the back of page 1. Let's start on the right side of the page. Now, you have to remember, the page, I'm talking about the base page. I'm not talking about the hinge. So when I'm telling you to put this on the page, don't go past that base page. So add glue to the tab. And put it on the right side of the base page, but stick to the base page. Don't go on the hinge. Gonna make sure it's straight up and down by measuring, making sure it's even with the bottom and the top of the page. And then we can go ahead and burnish. There's a lot of glue there. Let's take that off. All right, now this flap should meet up with that one. So go ahead and add glue to the tab. And I'm going to first meet this up with the edge of the other one, and then let it fall down. And so it should be at the edge of the page. And that was perfect. I'll burnish. And there we go. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right, now I'll open that up, and then we need to adhere the pocket. So I'm going to dry fit it first and make sure that we still have enough room, which we do. All right, we're going to adhere the bottom first. So just add glue to that longer tab and put this, center it on the page and line it up with the bottom of the page. Now, double check, make sure everything still works, it closes, and then you can burnish. All right, now before we go any further, I'm going to grab some packing tape. You could use just a thin strip of Scotch tape or regular tape. I'm cutting off no bigger than a 7-inch piece. It's 6.5. All right, I'm going to open this up and take this and put it at the bottom. So I'm going to cover that tab. And then go up. Got my fingerprints in there. Nobody will ever know. And then just burnish. So the reason I did that is because if for some reason ever you're covering a pocket and your paper doesn't go all the way down to the bottom, now whatever you put in the pocket will slide easy because of that tape that you put. Again, it could be just 1/2 inch wide packing tape. All right, now we're ready to add glue to both these tabs. Fold that and burnish and burnish. And there's that. Oh, I love it. Love it. All right, that is the back of page 1. All right, back of page 2 is simple. We're just taking a 4 3/4 by 5.5 piece of heavyweight cardstock, scoring it at the top at 1/2 inch. Let's go ahead and miter. And fold and burnish on the score line. And then we're simply going to take this and we're going to line it up at the top of the page, and we're going to glue it at the top. So you'll have about 1 inch side to side. So I've already glued it, just burnish it, and we will adhere a magnet at the bottom once we're decorating. So that is all you need to do for the back of page 2. All right, so for the back of page 2, you'll need 2 pieces of heavyweight cardstock, a 4x5 and a 6x5. The 4x5 with the 4-inch side at the top, score at 1/2 inch, and the 6x5 with the 6-inch side at the top, score at 1/2 inch. That's it. Those are easy. I mean, it's all easy. It's just following directions on where you place it. I'm going to miter on these little tabs. And these pages seem to get a little more complicated as we go, right? That's intentional. We start out easy, but we end up easy. So, I mean, it's just scoring and folding and gluing. All right, let's pull in our book. So for the back of page 2, we'll take this. Oh, is it going? Yep. We will glue the 6x5-inch piece onto the left side of the page. So line it up with the edge of the page, top and bottom, and burnish. And then with this one, with the tab on the right side, we're going to center it on that 6x5-inch piece. So you'll have about 1 inch on each side, a little bit more, but just center it on there. So the folded side is going to go to the right. All right, that is all we need to do with that for now. Paper clip that so it stays nice and in place. And we'll move on to the front of page 3. All right, we're moving right along. For the front of page 3, you'll need a piece that is 4.5 by 6. And then this piece is 3.25 by 6.5. This is for a photo mat inside the page. I might adjust that size. Okay, let's put the 6-inch side at the top of the other one, score it at 1/2 and score it at 5.5. Rotate it so the 4.5 sides at the top, and we'll score it at 1/2. So obviously this is a pocket, and let's miter it as such. So we'll miter. I'll do this slower because I sped through it last time. We'll miter the top. Okay, and now you've got this X, which we made with the score lines. We're just going to cut straight across that. Oops, I need to clean my scissors. So there we go with that. And then this one I'm not going to do anything to. I might use a corner chomper, corner rounder at some point, but not right now. When I decorate it, I'll decide for sure. All right, pull in the book. So we're going to put this, it's going to be a side-loading pocket. We're going to glue the pocket over to the left side of the page. I'm going to just glue the centerpiece, this longer piece, onto the page. Don't glue it onto the spine, glue it onto the page. Or onto the hinge, I meant. Glue it onto the page, not the hinge. All right. Grab a little bit of tape. Oops, I didn't mean that little bit. And put that on. And burnish. And then we'll glue these side tabs. And burnish. I like to sort of push this in just to make sure this elevates a little bit, just to make sure that any photo mat will fit in easy, and I will just put that in there for safekeeping. And that is the front of page 3. Now let's do the back of page 3. Okay, for the back of page 3, you need a piece that's 6 1/4 by 4 1/4, with the 4 1/4 side at the top. I'm sorry, 6 1/4 side at the top. Score it at half. We're going to miter on those fold lines. Pull in the book, fold and burnish. And we're going to add this to the right side of the paper. So yeah, it doesn't fit the full page. It's just going to add a little bit of interest, especially because we're going to have a closure as one of the chipboard pieces. And that's going to add some dimension to it as well. I'm just going to burnish that and burnish that, and that's it. And let's do the back, the front of page 4. Front of page 4 is 8 inches by 2 1/2 tall. This is going to be a pocket. So with the 8 inch side at the top, score it at 1/2 inch, 7 1/2, rotate, and score down that long side with the 2 1/2 side at the top, score at 1/2 inch. All right, now you're an old hat at mitering pockets. So we'll miter the top, and then right across the X. I used to have a pair of honeybee Teflon scissors, or non-stick. I don't know if they were Teflon. And they were great. I don't know what happened to them, but the ones I have are fine. All right, again, we're going to just glue the bottom to the bottom of the page. Make sure it's lined up. Easy schmeezy. And then you know what we're going to do. Piece of tape. I know this big packing tape is probably overkill, but it's okay. It'll do the job. And then add glue to these side tabs. And burnish, distribute that glue. And you're good. Pushing at the corners. And there we go with that. All right. Easy schmeezy. Let's move on. We're actually going to skip the back of page 4 because we're going to decorate it. And as we decorate it, we'll add the features. So we're going right to the inside back cover. So you'll need a piece that's 7 3/8 by 4 5/8. I'm using heavyweight. And then for a pocket, you want a piece that is 8 1/2 by 4. with the 8.5 by 4. I'll put the 4 inside at the top, score at 1/2 inch. Then I'll put the 8.5 side at the top, score at 1/2 and at 8. And then this piece, the 4 5/8 tall by 7 3/8 wide. I keep writing the measurements down wrong. I'm putting them in the wrong order today. I don't know why. All right, we're going to miter on these corners. Miter there, there, cross the X, cross the X. Sun's starting to come in. Fold and burnish on all of our score lines. Add glue to the bottom piece. Make sure it goes over to the edge. So justify it to the right side. And make sure your book will still close. It will, but it's close. And we'll glue the side flaps on. All right, before we put this one on, I do want to take a corner rounder and round the bottom corners. I like when I have flaps on top of pockets to have the corners rounded. I just like the look of it. Fold and burnish. And this will go on the top. Now this is a little bit smaller than that page, so you can center it a little. I like to make it smaller because I don't like my flaps to get hung up here. So it doesn't have to be all the way over to the right, but I would have it more over to the right than over to the left. And we will put a closure on that, but that fits perfectly. And that is it for the construction of the book. See, that wasn't so bad. So go to the next video and I will be showing you how to decorate the book. I'll also do any final details like making mats. We'll do hidden photo mats. And just a heads up for that, you'll need 4 pieces that are 4.5 by 7. And we'll just complete the book. So go ahead to the next video in the series and we will finish this up. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out. Thanks. See you in the next video.